Welcome to the Real Room, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, John Hinton, and you are in a real place for real people to have real conversation where we always try our best to be relational, educational, authentic, and loving. Yo, real quick, shout out to everybody who is watching on YouTube or listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcast. However you chose to step in the Real Room today, thank you for joining us. You're a real one to me. You're a real one here. You're a real one to everyone here. And I'm just so thankful that each and every single one of you guys stepped in the Real Room and chose to get real with us today. Because, it's not a solo dolo episode. I am actually sitting across the room, across the couch. I'm sitting across from who I would consider a dope man of God. He's super awesome. I don't know a lot about him, but what I do know is good. And I feel like I'm going to get to know you a lot more today. So without further ado, I introduce to some and present to everybody Isaiah Watson.
What's up, y'all?
What's up, my guy? And you want to go ahead and preface real quick for the community on why you're wearing these glasses? Because he looks like a superstar, bro. Like 100%. He walked in the Real Room and I'm like, yo, you're a superstar. Like, you look good on these cameras, man. Like, I like it. So go ahead.
So I told John that I got some light sensitivity issues, actually. So they might look cool, but I'm not trying to be cool. And I know some people might think it's weird, but that's why I'm doing it.
Bro, I wear sunglasses at night, so it's all right. Bro, I dig them though, man. You got a whole fit going on right now. The hair, the glasses.
I appreciate it.
I'm always a fan of all black, like black on black. But your boy's wearing a white shirt today because, bro, can I just tell you real quick? We're just going to be completely random on this whole episode. I actually found these shirts. And they are the most comfortable shirts I've ever worn in my life because I used to be a bigger guy. Like, believe it or not, I used to weigh like 235 pounds.
Really?
So, like, I got some body insecurities. Like, I'm not always trying to show my figure. And just bigger clothes are just more comfortable.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And I can't remember what they're called, but they're like pro somethings. And I seen them on some Instagram. And I'm like, I seen them. I'm like, yo, they look good on you. And I can't see your body, which is good because it's like a bigger dude wearing these things. I was like, I like that. So I spent like $60 on like 6 shirts. And I'm like, worth it.
From Instagram?
No, I actually found them on Amazon of all places.
Gotcha.
And dude, these are like the thickest shirt. Like, this is not an undershirt. This is actually a shirt that if you wore an undershirt, you would wear it under this one. But yeah, no, these are super comfortable.
Looks good.
Bro. But yeah, I'm wearing white today, which is out of the norm because your boy usually wears black all the time.
Yeah, I used to go through like a skinny jeans, everything was skinny clothes.
Yeah.
And then like as I've gotten older, I can't do it anymore. Like I have to have baggy because I chafe and like stuff gets stuck in my armpits and
I feel you,
so
bro.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, no, because I lug me some skinny jeans, like something that just like hugs my figure a little bit. But like if I don't feel comfortable in it, why would I wear it?
Yeah.
Like I'm not wearing clothes for other people. I'm wearing clothes for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's like, I like those people who can like just design an outfit, not just wear clothes, but design an outfit that looks good and looks good on them.
Yeah.
Because I don't care how good a shirt is or a pair of jeans are. If it don't look good on you, bro, like it's not appealing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Like, bro, Christians are regular people, and I got opinions. I'm not judging people, but I definitely got opinions when it comes to like fashion and stuff for sure.
I always say I got a wife now, so I'm not really trying to impress anybody else.
Facts. If there's
trying
anything,
to be comfortable.
Bro, I'm trying to be comfortable and impress my wife. Like if she likes me in a shirt, guess what? I'm gonna wear it for her.
Yeah.
Or if like she likes the smell of a cologne, I'm wearing it for her all day. I got you. All right, bro. First off, thank you for stepping in the Real Room, Isaiah.
Thank you for having me.
Isaiah.
I'm excited.
Zay. How many nicknames you got? Like we talked a little bit off camera, but now that we're on camera, let's go ahead and just vibe out.
So
what do you?
I created my own artist name. That's Preacher Zay.
Gotcha.
And so people kind of took that and they called me PZ Zay. Or I was telling John a story about when I was younger. I was at this camp, and I actually started out dancing. And so when I went to this camp, there was a fun night, one night after chapel or something, and I was dancing the night away. And so the next day, everybody was calling me Robot Boy because I do a lot of pop and lock.
I like it.
But mainly Zay, PZ.
I got
Those
you.
are the ones that stick around.
So I am curious. So are you an actual, like, when you say Preacher Zay, like, are you actually licensed or anything like that? Or you just go by Preacher Zay because you be preaching the gospel?
Yeah, just because I'm preaching on the mic. Not actually licensed.
I got you. Well, I had to check.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't got to have a license to be a preacher, right? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So, welcome to the Bro Room. Thank you for stepping in, man. I know you've watched some of our content, and you kind of got an idea. I mean, what we do here. We talked a little bit off camera about kind of like the way things go here and all that jazz. You filled out the form. We got a couple things that we want to talk about today. But before we get started, and before we, like, get lost in the convo, because I feel like you and I are just gonna vibe out today. Mainly, I want to give people context to you. I think a person's story is everything. To give context to people about why you're here, what placed you in the real room, and, like, all the things that led up to this moment are so vital and so important, because context to a person and giving somebody an understanding of your story helps them to know who you are, and kind of doesn't leave much up to judgment or, like, speculation of, like, why'd you say that? It's like, well, I said that because, I don't know, for an example, I had childhood trauma, so I have a problem with a certain type of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, before we get started, man, like, actually, let's just start right now. Let's vibe out. Give people context to you, like, and you can start wherever you want. You can start straight from birth, like Zay, born 7 pounds, 5 ounces. You know what I mean? But yeah, go ahead and just start it off, man.
Should I go like testimony or just random facts?
Random facts, the best. No, I'm just you can go ahead and tell us your testimony. I mean, that's kind of like what it is. Like, my life story is a testimony, and we testify to God's goodness. But a lot of people just want to, like, grab the mic and be like, God's good, give your life to Jesus, all that jazz. And it's like, okay, bro.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can't relate to you, but all right. So I guess, like, go ahead and share your testimony.
All right. So it all starts out with my mom. Growing up, she kind of got into, like, the typical high school and then college life. She was drinking, partying,
right,
all that type of stuff, and trying to find love and happiness in a man.
Right.
And so she met my biological dad. He's not in my life right now. And they had me. And it wasn't until that point where my mom kind of started finding Jesus. It wasn't till I was in the picture. And so because of that, though, right away when I was born, I was already brought into the church. And so I already had that firm foundation growing up. So it's kind of already in a Christian home. And growing up, I was always in and out of daycare, and my grandma and aunt basically raised me because my mom, she was working all the time. And like I said, at this point, my father was out of the picture. So I grew up with a bunch of women. So that's why I'm very sensitive for a guy because of that.
Oh, we're going to vibe out for sure.
And so as life went on, though, I say when I was like three or four, my mom met my stepdad. I usually don't call him a stepdad because he's been a real dad.
I got you, bro.
But I just do that to clarify to people. She met him on MySpace.
Dude. All right, first off, real quick, what age did your mom have you?
Oh, she was 21.
21, okay. And was she still in college, or did she graduate or drop out?
Yeah, she was still in college. She actually finished college with me.
Okay.
So.
Dope. What was she going to college for?
To be a teacher.
Dope. All right, I like it. I like it already. Okay, so 21, she has you still rocking the college. which kudos to her. Good job, mom. Like for real,
Oh,
to
yeah.
have a baby and then still rock out college. Like I'm graduating.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, she
I'm not
stuck it out.
dropping out. And then you were 3 years old. And she met your stepdad, but
Yeah.
dad. And what was his name? Or what's your mom's? What's your mom's?
So my mom's name is Candace,
Candace.
and my dad's name is Herman.
Herman.
Yeah,
Dope.
just call him Herman the Worm.
Herman the Worm. I like it. All right, so they met on MySpace.
So they met
of
on
all
MySpace.
places.
Yeah, my mom's from Little Coldwater, Ohio, and my dad lived in Philly at the time.
Okay.
Originally from Jamaica.
What?
So they did long distance for almost 6-7 years. So that was tough still, because like I loved him right away, but we only got to see him like once every other few months if we were lucky. So
Like, because he was like just in Philly?
yeah,
Or was he like going back and forth to.
he was in Philly, but he was always coming. He actually worked in aviation, so
Okay.
he would fly here as much as he could, but yeah, distance for 7 years, I believe.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Dude.
So I always tell couples, like, even if you're distant, I believe in you, because I seen it in my parents.
Right.
They made it through some hard times like that.
But yeah, you were okay. So 3 she met your dad when she met your dad when you were 3, and then they did long distance for like 7 years. So you were like up until 10, up until you were 10.
Yeah.
What's some of the things, like I'm just curious real quick, because I'm like, you believe in the ones who are doing long distance. Like, what are some of the things that like you've seen in them that like, just like you knew it was like a healthy relationship? You know what I mean? Because I mean, you were still pretty young, but I was like, is there anything that steps out in your brain that's like, hey, they were doing a good job?
I mean, I'd say one, probably just making each other a priority still.
Nice.
Even because, I mean, like I said, my mom was working. She worked 5 jobs when it was just us, back and forth every single day. And so she still made time for him, and he still made time for her. And obviously, you got to have trust.
Oh, yeah.
Trust is a huge thing when you're hours away from each other.
Absolutely.
So I'd say those are probably the 2 biggest things.
Trust and priority.
But it was pretty rocky for them. Going, like, they've grown a lot.
Yeah.
So
I mean, nobody's perfect, right?
Yeah.
We're all just trying to vibe out, get it all together. Dude, all right, so let's go back to this real quick. So you're growing up, you said it was pretty rocky. Like your mom had 5 jobs. Like that, all right, I'm not gonna just brush over that. Like, bro, she had 5 jobs.
yeah.
What was that like? Like, first off, do you have any siblings?
I have 2 siblings now, but I was an only child till I was like 10. So
All right. So you're an only child till like 10, and your mom's rocking 5 jobs. How was like the home life? Like,
so that was, in the moment, I didn't really think anything of it, because I was just a little kid.
right?
living
Like, I'm
my
just
life.
out here vibing, bro. Like, hi, mom.
Yeah.
Bye, mom.
Like I said, I was always somewhere. I was always either at daycare, at the babysitter, or with my grandma or my aunt. And like I said, in the time, it didn't really affect me. But I know, like, later on in life, I was like, man, like, I think it caused some issues that we had to work out in therapy.
Right.
Because I was always doing things by myself. Like, I was always playing alone, just kind of chilling. And I think that, I don't know, I just think it caused some, I struggled with abandonment issues from my dad leaving. But none of that stuff, like, when I think about it, like, none of it affected me until I got to like that 15,
like that
where I started
awareness.
questioning things. Yeah.
It's like, hold on, I actually have friends.
Yeah.
Like, wait, hold on. I haven't always had friends. It's
Yeah.
like, this is alarming.
Yeah. And like, it's so crazy because we were living on welfare, food stamps.
Right.
But I never worried myself because my mom did everything that she could to provide for us. And so, like, I can't really say that like my childhood, it didn't feel like it was super rough because she did everything she could to prevent that. So, I mean, I'm still super grateful.
Bro, shout out Candace, Mama K. Starts with a K, right?
C.
C. All right, Mama C.
You're good.
All right, Candace. Yo, shout out mom. Like, that's crazy. No, I can relate to that 100%. My mom raised my brother and I. My dad died when I was 6.
Oh.
So I was raised by women as well. Like my mom, my grandma. Grandpa was just kind of in the background until like I noticed like, oh, hey, you're a dope guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was raised by women. Women of the church as well, because she was a God-fearing woman, and she was going to be darned if I wasn't going to grow up in church.
Yeah.
And so I know what it's like to be raised by women. I'm a lot more sensitive than any other man. I mean, you can see my hands, bro. Like, they're clean. Like, I am not like a break your back kind of working man. Not that I don't believe in work, but definitely get it.
Same way.
Dude, bro. My mom raised my brother and I, and we grew up on food stamps as well. Cause I mean, it was 90s, early 2000s. Like we was broke. Like we was broke, man. Like my mom's rocking like a job or two here and there. Usually she'd be gone and just be me and my brother. Not that like she abandoned us, but like she knew we were okay. And yeah, no, I know what it's like. But she did her best, and all we did was have awareness of what was going on, because she was open with us and was like, hey, this is what we got to do now. It's like, all right, cool. And then we just played in La La Land. Like we were super solid, never had to worry about nothing. But it's like anytime we asked a question, it's like, hey, why is this? Like, why can't we have pizza tonight? It's like, because we can't afford it. Like, eat your noodles. But yeah, no, I definitely get it, man. So sweet, she's rocking 5 jobs. Didn't have any siblings till 10. Yeah, take it from there, man. Like,
and so this part of the story is always like, I don't know how to structurally tell it, but so like I've told you behind the scenes, I've dealt with anxiety for a while.
right.
And I don't know if this is stuff that we've tried to unpack, because I've done counseling I'm done now. I stopped last year.
Praise God.
Which is a blessing, yeah. But I did counseling for 7 years. And we were always trying to unfold if there was anything that caused it in early childhood. And I don't really know if there was anything specific, like up until a certain point. But I've always been anxious. Like, as a young kid, I was always thinking about things that most kids wouldn't. Like, I was afraid to do certain things because I'm like, what if I hurt myself, or what if I do this?
Right.
Like, and that's I think it might have been because I was with women too, like that sensitive part. Like, I was never out playing in mud or getting dirty on a farm, or
right.
Like,
No, I got you, bro.
nothing like that. Like, I was indoors. I played with spoons and forks. Like, literally, I've always been imaginative. I would just use whatever I could. But it wasn't until I think the first panic attack, I didn't realize it at the time, was when I was about 7 years old, and I was terrified of thunderstorms. So every time a storm would come, I would freak out, like sit in a corner. I'm just like sitting there shaking. And then 7, I think there might have been 6. There was like a 3-year period where I had like an eating disorder when I was like 8. I didn't eat anything until my grandma told me if I don't eat, I was gonna die. So then I was like, okay, well, I gotta try to.
But that's not helping my trauma,
this. Yeah.
Grandma. Like, I'm worried that I might die now.
I was afraid of choking, all this stuff, and like, I'd go through waves where it got a little bit better, and then there was one period of time, which everything's kind of like foggy. I can't remember. Some of the things I'm saying might have happened after, but when it got really bad was when I was probably 8 or 9, maybe.
Okay.
There was a house fire on our apartment complex, and we were good. But the fire was across from us. The whole thing burnt down. And then the very next day, we got in a car accident, and it wasn't super bad, but it was like the front of the car got smashed and the windows broke in.
Right.
And so I remember at that point is when I really realized, like, okay, life is fragile. And this is 9, 10 years old. I'm like, I might not wake up tomorrow. And that freaked me out.
That's freaking me out. Like, first off, like, I could not imagine that at like 8 or 9, even 10 years old, just like,
And so I had nightmares every night. Like, I thought I was going to burn to death in my sleep. That was one of my biggest fears. And I was always at the time, I didn't really know about like spiritual warfare and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm looking back, I think there was a lot of spiritual things.
Absolutely.
And like, it almost gives me chills thinking about it sometimes. Like, there were some weird things that happened, but it all caused this storm of anxiety, and that followed me till I was like 12, 13. And again, I would go through periods where I was feeling better, and then he'd kind of come back, and because there's always something. Like, I never felt peace really, which I'll get to that later.
Yeah,
but
no, I got you.
my mind was always turning, like, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? And I went to this camp, the camp I was telling you about, where they call me Robot Boy. And it was a great experience. Like I said, I grew up in the church, but I don't know if I fully experienced the Lord until this camp. Like, I was probably 12 years old or so, and this was around the time where I was like, man, I don't know. At the time, I felt like my calling's different now, but at the time I was like, I'm going to be a pastor. But it was a super crazy experience, just a blast for the Lord. I met some really awesome people, and I came home and I told my mom, I was like, I don't got to be afraid anymore, Mom. Like, I've got Jesus. Like, I'm done with anxiety. Like, I literally told her. And
you're how old at this point?
Like 12, 13. It was around 7th grade or so. Like I said, I'm getting all the ages mixed up, I feel like, but
no, you're good.
You get the gist. Yeah,
no, I got you.
But I was telling her, like, I'm done being afraid. Like, I know the Lord's got me. And the very next day, this is how I know it's spiritual, because the very next day, I'd been good for a while. And the next day after I said that, I was at this football practice, and we were doing drills and stuff. And while we're doing drills, just out of nowhere, I start getting really dizzy. I'm like, okay. And in my head the whole time, I'm like, oh, I know you're with me, Lord. I know you're with me. And things start fading. And I didn't like fully black out, but they just went black for a little bit. And I was like, whoa. So now I'm like really freaking out. My arm starts tingling. And I had known the signs of a heart attack because I'd Googled it before when I was like 11 years old.
Yeah, no, let's not whip into these things, bro.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like, am I having a heart attack? Like, I'm literally
at 13.
I'm literally in 7th, 8th grade at a football practice, and I'm thinking I'm about to go into a heart attack. And so I'm like freaking out, and this is all internal though. Nobody knows I'm scared right now. Because
why would you share that?
Yeah, I'm just internalizing it, like hoping that nothing happens. The whole time though, I'm like, God's got me. God's got me. God's got me. And I start hyperventilating and all this stuff. And it ended up going away. Like, nothing else happened. It was a panic attack. I didn't know at the time.
Right.
I went home, told my mom, I'm like, I don't know what happened. Like, I think I should go to the doctors and get checked out maybe, because this was really weird. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I think you're probably okay. My aunt has really bad anxiety. She's had a panic disorder her whole life. So she's like, my mom had some experience with that. She's like, call your aunt, because it sounds to me like you had a panic attack.
Right.
Because I had similar situations when I was younger, but it was nothing like that. And like, I didn't have a name to it. So I called my aunt and I like told her what happened. And she's like, yeah, it sounds like a panic attack. She's like, just try not to focus on it. Oh,
Or you get into another panic attack.
Yeah. I didn't listen to that.
Of course not.
And so I was good for a few days, and then I went to I think it was like a junior JV football game or something with my friend.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing. I get there. I rode my bike there. So we're watching the game. And in the back of my head the whole time, I'm like, I really hope this doesn't happen. Like, I'm thinking that, and it starts happening. I'm like, oh my gosh. I start getting super dizzy. I like look at my friend Jaden. I'm like, dude, I gotta go right now. I'm like walking down, like kind of stumbling, get my bike, ride back. My mom's like, what's wrong? I'm like, it happened again. And from there, it really just got worse and worse. Like, this was during the summertime. So then started going back to school, and I was in the counselor's office every single day. I was trying to skip class because I was having panic attacks. Mm-hmm. My principal at the time, she was a very good, faithful lady. Probably the best principal I've ever had. Like, she would literally take me back in her office and just pray with me.
No way.
Yeah. And so, like, I'd be in these moments, and I would go back and be like, it's happening again. We'd sit there, we'd pray. And then I go back, and then like 2 hours later, I'm back in her office, or I'm back with the counselor. We weren't allowed to have phones, but I would always like try to find my iPod or something and like email my mom, like tell her to come pick me up because I can't do this. And it really just kept escalating to a point where there's one, I was in 8th grade, and I was in this class, and this was something I'd never experienced before with the anxiety. I literally started feeling like I was floating out of my body. Like, they call it depersonalization. I didn't know what it was then. A lot of times it happens from smoking weed. I'd never smoked weed in my life. That's what usually happens, or it's like it's caused from trauma. So if you're in a really bad car accident or somebody just got shot in front of you, it's your brain's way of coping. It'll just kind of literally detach yourself from your surroundings. But that happened to me just from panic attacks, like how often I had adrenaline running through me. And so literally all of a sudden, everything just feels fake. Like, literally feel like I'm living in a dream and I'm watching myself. And then like I come back down and I'm like freaking out. Obviously, I'm like, what the heck just happened? And so I rush back to the office, and I told my principal and the counselor, and nobody, like, it's crazy. It's been probably 7 years, but nobody was really familiar with this. Like, even the counselor I had at the time, they didn't really know what depersonalization
I've never
was
heard
like
of this,
that.
bro.
Yeah. And so I felt so alone because I'm like, I literally feel like I'm schizophrenic right now.
Right.
And
like,
nobody knows
am
what's
I
going
crazy?
on.
Y'all,
Yeah.
nobody believes me.
Yeah. And so that's when it got like really bad, because before it was already bad. I had the panic attacks and all that, but eventually it was like same symptoms all the time. Like, at that point, I'm just like, this is annoying.
Right.
But then I'm like,
it's happening again.
Now I'm floating out of my body, feeling like I'm astro projecting.
Hold up, bro. And you're 13.
Yeah.
I never, like, obviously I've heard of astral projection and all that jazz. I didn't know there was like a mental thing to where like you leave your body and it's your brain trying to, like, it's a coping mechanism. And I'm like, because I swear I've had this happen to me before. I just didn't know what it was. And I'm just like, what? I'm freaking out right now, bro. Like, all right, so you're 13. This is how often is this happening to you?
I lived with this for almost 3 years straight. Like, it was the worst 3 years of my life.
Oh my God.
Yeah, from that point on, it just stuck. And I couldn't figure it out. I was freaking out, like trying to tell my mom to take me to the doctors. I probably went to the hospital, the ER, probably like, I don't know, like once a month. Like I was always freaking out. I'm like, I don't know if I'm seizuring. Do I have a tumor? Like,
right. Figure this out. I'm Googling everything.
My mind always goes to the worst case scenario. I'm like,
oh yeah,
trying to look up which never Google your symptoms.
Oh, facts, bro.
Yeah. So I'm freaking out. And like I said, this continued on for the 8th grade year. And for like 2 years after that, like going into high school. But so we're in 8th grade though. This is happening. It's happening for like 2 months or so. And then there's this one day. This is where it all gets like even crazier and emotional. But I get home from school and my mom's like, she's like, I've been telling my friend what's been happening to you. And she thinks that you might be under a spiritual attack. And she wants to pray over you because she's been trained to like for like deliverance and stuff. I didn't really know what that was back then.
Right.
And she was like, do you want to go over there today? And I was like,
nah.
I don't know. Like maybe like that stuff freaked me out.
Oh yeah, no. Like you're completely uncomfortable at this point. Like,
and then out of nowhere, it's like probably 5 minutes later, I just start bawling. Like I start bawling. I start feeling like angry and all these weird things. And I look at my mom. I'm like, we got to go. Let's go right now. I need to get prayed over. Like I just start like freaking out. And she's like trying to get her stuff. I'm like, Mom, we got to go right now. Like I'm literally like losing my mind.
Right.
Like just out of nowhere. And we start getting in the car and we're getting ready to go to her friend's house. And on the way there, she like looks at me and she's like, God's going to free you from this. And then the song Fear is a Liar comes on. I remember just sitting there. I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but please, Lord, I can't live like this. And I start bawling my eyes out again. And we're like going there. And the lady starts, we get there and she like sits me down right away and she starts praying over me and like commanding stuff out. And she was getting like visions of me like speaking in front of kids and like basically stuff I've done now, which is like, it was crazy, like doing my music and all this stuff. And she was like praying the anxiety out and any spirits and all this stuff. And it was just a crazy experience. I'm like sitting there, like still just feeling super weird. And after I felt peace for the first time in a long time. But like after that point, it didn't just completely stop, but I just felt hope. I was like, I'm not gonna live in this. Mm-hmm. But it was still like now I believe that a lot of things are more spiritual than that. But it was also still like a coping thing.
Right.
And like now I know like anytime I'm anxious, I might detach. It doesn't bother me as much anymore because I figured out the skills and the tools to get through that. But at the time after that, I was still kind of anxious. Like it slowly got better after that point. And it was bad. Like I kind of skipped over some things, but like it's crazy to think how much just a mental thing could cause so much turmoil. Like it caused a lot of pain in my family. Like it was to the point where my mom, like she didn't tell me this when I was like going through that, but she like just did not know what to do or how to help me. And there was a point where she was so torn apart by this that she was like, I just wanted to sit in the garage. and like end it.
No way.
And like there was times where I told my mom I was going to kill myself. So she took me to the ER for that a couple times. It was really bad. Like there's one night I woke up, I drew on myself and I said, I can't even remember what it was. I just like wrote hopeless or something. Like, just like, I don't know. Like I was like dozing off or something. Like I wasn't even fully aware, but I just woke up and hopeless was on my arm. And so there was like all these experiences. But like I said, after that point, it started getting a little better. And then I got to high school and it was right back to it. Like horrible. Again, I was trying to skip school. Like my parents almost called the police on me because I was refusing to go because I was terrified. Like, and then when I did get to school, I was in the bathroom panicking and like my teachers were getting tired of it and I felt like a burden to them. Mm-hmm. And it just kept, and like through this period, I broke my collarbone, I broke my leg. And so like all this stuff was happening, plus the mental aspect. And I was just drained. And then it wasn't until I was going to therapy, but I switched to a different counselor. And I think it was the switch from a woman to a man. It's just easier to relate to a man. And so, because I was just going to the woman that did my parents' marriage counseling, but I switched and he basically helped come up with this whole plan to where if I needed to leave the classroom to take a break, I had like 3 or 4 breaks a day that I could use and everybody was on board. And so that helped a lot. And I started getting stronger in my faith still too. Like I was learning to lean on God more through this whole situation. And then things like would start to get better again. And they were really good for probably a year and a half. Like I didn't have any depersonalization or anything like that. But I was with a girl and fell into a lot of sexual temptation, and it was like my life was good, but I think I know why it was good.
Right. Like I'm coping with the fact that I feel like this on the inside. So on the outside, I'm going to try to make myself feel better.
Yeah. And so I was basically kind of trying to find that happiness in this girl. And my mom literally my mom gives some good advice, but I always joke about this. This time she did not give me good advice. There was a point where I was so down and she was, like I said, she was so, because me and my mom, we have a really like big bond. Like,
healthy.
And I'm sure you understand that because it was just me and her.
No, I'm a mama's boy for sure, through and through.
And so like our connection is super tight. Like there's, like we talked about psychological things because like we could literally like feel each other's pain to a different level because we just had that connection. But anyway, she was just worn out and she's like, why don't you just find a girlfriend and just find something to put your focus on other than yourself? And I was like, okay.
Like, all right, mom, bet. I was just waiting for you to say so.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'll find a girlfriend.
If you say so.
So I did. And like I said, like I started struggling a lot with lust and temptation. And so it was like, I felt a little better anxiety wise, but like deep down it was eating me alive. Like I knew I need to stop doing this.
Right.
I grew up having a really bad image of God, and I don't know why. I think it's because of my anxiety and stuff, but and nobody, like it's not like anybody, like my mom wasn't condemning me all the time or anything like this, but I always just had this idea that God was just out to punish me. Right. That anytime I sinned, that he was going to give me that he was going to strike me with some disease or kill my mom, or like that's the way I thought. I didn't think he was gracious or merciful. And so I had this bad image of him. And so when I was struggling, it almost pushed me a little bit further though, because it was like I had so much guilt and shame from all this sin. And I was like, God wants nothing to do with me. Like, in fact, God wants to harm me. He wants to punish me for this.
This is probably a punishment from God. Like,
yeah.
why else would I be feeling this way?
Yeah. And so that was my sophomore year. But and then COVID happened. So this is a big part. So COVID happened, no school. And it was like I never got into like drinking or anything like that in high school. It was really lust. Like that was my biggest struggle, lust and fear. And so I still didn't want to go do anything like bad, really. I wanted the Lord. Like I wanted friends. I wanted Christian relationships. I didn't really have that outside of like my parents and stuff. And so when COVID happened, I felt super alone. Like got really bad depression again. And I was like, Lord, just take me home because I have nobody here. And I was begging God for friends like every day. And I went down to my mom. I was crying. I'm just like, I don't have anybody. And a lot of it was just that typical high school thing too. Like I just felt like that's like I didn't want to do the things that people were doing. Mm-hmm. But I was also like, man, like nobody invites me to things.
Right.
But
like,
I knew
come on, man.
People literally called me Jesus boy. So like I knew why they didn't, because they know I've made it clear to them that I don't want involved in this stuff.
But still, you would like to be invited. Like, no, I fear you. Like FOMO is a real thing. Real quick though, I'm just so curious. Like when like something like, so you're going through all this stuff. Like we'll take it from high school. So you're going through this, had a counselor. She wasn't really helping. She was kind of just like comforting you.
Yeah.
It was like, let's switch up, bro. Like, I like that you're comforting me. Cool. But I need actual help. So then you switch to a guy put a plan together to help you, and make these, make what you're going through more manageable.
Which I have to tell a story about that too.
I got you. Okay.
But keep going.
So he's helping you. Everybody's on board. Now you're getting breaks and stuff like that. But also while you're going through it, you need some kind of, we'll call it, release, or just some kind of like balance or whatever. Like, hey, I feel this bad. No, I want to feel like I need to feel good.
Yeah.
And sure enough, young boy, hormones, all that jazz, like ends up being sexual. And you find a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And you're a sophomore.
Yeah.
You're a sophomore at this
sophomore
time.
in high school.
But then like while you're going through these things and having an unhealthy relationship at the time, or I really can't really call it unhealthy, but like you're just a young man, like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you're kind of looking just to fill a void. Now you also been raised in the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
And your mom's kind of pointed you in that direction, but then what you're going through is causing you to have a weird outlook on God's love, grace, his sovereignty, his character, more or less, and how he feels about you.
Mm-hmm.
So like, where is the dynamic, or where's the shift that happened? Like, are you just like balancing the tension within yourself of just like wanting to serve God, or just like having this idea of like Christianity and being a part of it, but then also like not feeling like God loves you? And like explain that to me, like, because I'm trying to figure out how like you're called Jesus boy, but like I just don't know your involvement, so I need a little help there.
I was always very outward in my faith. And people knew it. I mean, I look back at like old messages from even when I was in like 6th grade, and like this wasn't good back then. Not the way that I approached it, but people would come to me for advice. I remember telling one girl, like, she told me she did something. And I literally told her, I was like, you're probably going to go to hell.
Oh my God.
It was so bad. Like, looking back at this stuff. And again, I don't know why I had like this, because I wasn't raised like that. Like,
Right.
I wasn't just told that I was going to go to hell, but like, for some reason, I just had that view of God. Just
dang,
yeah,
bro. It's like, sorry, girl.
several
you ain't gonna make
occasions, yeah, where I was just like, yeah, like, I don't know. Like, but so I had always, and like I said, like, I always tell people there's no way. And I mean, there's a bunch of other things, but I know God is real because from the beginning, like, I definitely went through phases, but I was never really that kid where I was just like, oh, I'm going to church again. Like, I always loved going and learning about God. Like, there was just always something in me. Just this passion from a young age. Like,
Just being drawn.
this was my calling. Yeah. Like, I knew my purpose, but I didn't, like, from a young age. And so it was more so like I got baptized when I was 12. And so, and I believe that was genuine. It was more so just like a setback a little bit. Like, at that point in sophomore year, I was just being consumed by this lust.
Right.
To where, like I said, it was really this guilt. And like, I literally had secular friends from school. They were like, you've been different. And I'm like, okay, if my secular friend is telling me this, I got to get it together.
Right. Wait, like, if he's noticing, like, hey, bro, why are you doing these things?
Yeah.
Like, you're right.
And so I wouldn't say like I had this huge fall off per se. Like, I always had the seed in me, and I always wanted to pursue God. Like, that whole time while I was doing this, I'm like, I just want to be closer to you, Lord.
Right.
I just want to be closer to you. But I wasn't taking the steps to actually do that. So I was never in my word. I wasn't studying. I wasn't building a relationship with the Lord. I wasn't taking time in prayer or anything like that. It was just, I think I love Jesus. Like, I want people to know about him. I know that living with him is better than the life that I have now. But I was just so consumed, I guess.
Right. Yeah, knowing the truth and then living the truth is two different things, and a much harder thing to live that truth and be like, yeah, I know God, or I know of God, but it's like, it's really hard to live for him sometimes. You know what I mean? Especially if you're a young man, like, hormones are a thing, peer pressure, desires, all that jazz. And when everybody in the world's like going this way, and you're kind of like, I know that's not the way I should go, but like, I want to go with you guys.
Yeah.
Like, invite me to the parties. Like, come on.
And so that's always, because there's like two separate things to the testimony. But with the lust, I really did that, like, because of what you were saying, was because in that depersonalization, it literally numbs you, like, because it's a coping mechanism. So like I said, I'm emotional, but like, things wouldn't make me emotional anymore. And like, this is a little thing, but like, I lost my jump. Like, people would try to scare me and just nothing, because I was so detached from the world, like, major dissociation. And so I started dealing with lust because at a point in time, this was like really the first time I started dealing with masturbation.
Right.
It was really the only time I felt like I could feel anything. And so that's when I started struggling. And I wanted to say, like, about the counselor, when I very first switched to him, he's a Christian. So he was always take things through a biblical perspective.
Right.
But the first time I go to him, I'm with my mom, and he's like just kind of going through my history, and he's like, have you ever dealt with masturbation? And I'm like, I look at my mom because like I was so embarrassed. I was
Like,
so
Mom,
so
can you leave
shameful.
the room? I
Yeah.
need to talk to this man.
And I looked, and like I knew my mom was a Christian lady. I knew that this was wrong. I knew lusting over women was wrong.
Right.
And so that was like super hard. But I was like, yeah. But like the relief when I said it though, because I was filled with so much shame that the enemy had put on me. It was crazy. And like, I thought my mom was going to be like, oh, you're a horrible Christian. You're all this. But she looked at me and she just hugged me as I'm sitting there bawling my eyes out.
Right.
So like, that was that very first time I'm even with this dude. Like we hardly even have a connection at that point, but chains were already broken.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's dude. Like, hey, do you deal with this? I don't even know you, bro. Like, but yes, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he told me when my mom left, he's like, I don't know what it was, but like, I think it's the Holy Spirit that told me to ask you that. And so like, I knew right away, like, all right, this guy, this is from God.
He's
for
the
sure.
real deal.
Yeah. So, but flash forward from that, like we were working on it. He was helping me have a
No,
more
you're good.
loving view of God. I mean, God is both, but he helped me see more of not just the you're going to hell side.
Yeah, the judge.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need the judge. I need dad. Like,
Yeah.
give me the loving father.
And so then I got with this girl though, and it's like, which by the way, advice to like any men out there or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're already struggling with lust, it's not a good idea to go get a relationship.
Nah, bro.
Yeah.
It's like I don't deal with masturbation anymore, but I'm very tempted
Yeah.
every single day with my girlfriend.
Yeah. It's probably not a good, or at least if you're going to be with that person, do not be alone.
Yeah, have boundaries.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna kiss standing up. We don't
Yeah.
kiss laying down.
Yeah. So,
I'm a youth pastor or a youth leader. I'm not a youth pastor, but I'm a youth leader. So I'm
Yeah.
used to these conversations. Where it's like, come on, bro. Like you shouldn't be doing
Yeah.
that. Y'all know.
yeah. So, sophomore year though, we'll just flash forward. I'm still struggling with lust a little bit, but it's COVID. And I'm talking to my mom, like, I want more friends, all this stuff. And she says, why don't you start a Christian group chat or something? Because she's like, your generation, literally, what are you guys on the most? Your phone.
Facts.
She's like, use it to your advantage.
Yeah, because it's out there. The platforms are out there.
And so I did. And at this point, I had kind of built a following on TikTok. I had about 30,000 followers. And this was back when, like, Christian TikTok was this big thing.
Bro, popped off.
Yeah.
Like it popped off. Like, I mean, there is a bad side, like anything like MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, all of it. There's a bad side to it.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, TikTok, you either got your TikTok twerkers or like whatever else.
Yeah.
Because they're just
No in between sometimes.
Yeah, no in between, bro. But
Yeah.
it's either bad or it's like, hey, I'm a Christian. And
Yeah.
dude, they went off though
Yeah.
on TikTok.
And so I reached out on TikTok. I made this video. I was like, y'all, I'm starting this Christian group chat. And it popped off. Like there was tons of like teenagers that were looking for something like this. And they're like, add me, add me, add me. And so like I originally start this huge group chat where we're all just trying to connect. Like there's people from Africa, people from like Canada, all over the place. And we're all just like talking to each other and stuff. And then I put something on Snapchat and I was like, hey, I'm starting this thing for Christian teens. If any of y'all want to join, like let me know. And then this girl named Kiara reached out to me. She wanted to join and she said, hey, which by the way, Kiara I met her at another camp called Lakeside.
Okay.
And there's some crazy things with that too, like how God aligns stuff. But she's like, my boyfriend, you know, he's studying to be a pastor, loves the Lord with all his heart and all this stuff. I would love for him to join. This is Brandon that she's talking about.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, hold on.
Yeah. And so Brandon joins. And so I've already got like these other people that I'm kind of making connections with. And Brandon comes in and we kind of start talking and I'm like, man, this dude is a lot like me.
Right.
And so I'm like, bro, we got to get on a phone call. And we called and it was like 4 hours long. The first conversation, I'm like,
Are you my best friend?
Yeah, instant
Are
connection.
you my best friend?
And like immediately after we got off, we're like, bro, we got to meet in person, all this stuff. Cause we just sat there and we talked about God and just theology and all this stuff forever. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never had anybody to do this with.
Yes, I love those kind of conversations.
And so it was like this immediate connection. And we met right away, like a few weeks later. But when we got there, shout out to Brandon, because before Brandon, like, I really wasn't studying my word like that. Like, he really got me into theology and like apologetics and all this stuff. Which don't mean that you're automatically a good Christian or whatever.
Yeah, no,
but
just because you got head knowledge don't mean your heart's right.
Yeah. But I believe that you should always have a defense for your faith and all this stuff. And like, absolutely. I had nothing. Like, I love Jesus. I knew I loved Jesus, but that was about all. And like, I remember one time at school, a teacher had tested my faith, and I just froze up. I didn't know what to say. I didn't have a defense because I wasn't studying my word. It wasn't in my heart. And so when I met Brandon, he really taught me that. And so at this point, like, my faith, God's really building me up. I'm still with this girl though. So like, that's like this like huge battle between the enemy. Cause I'm like, one part, I'm still lusting. I'm still struggling with all this stuff. But then like, God's building me. He's giving me more mentors. He's giving me more friends like I've prayed for, and like all these people. And then I had a few more friends join. Jared was on here. He kind of gave his testimony.
Yeah, love Jared.
It was crazy because Jared, I thought originally Jared was going to be my Brandon, because like me and Jared were super tight, and like all the way from 5th grade up to high school. And then y'all can go watch Jared's video. But
bro,
you know,
we went in for 3 hours. Man.
Yeah. Jared started struggling, and that was my homie. That was like literally my only best friend that I could share this experience with the Lord with. And then he just went off the rails. And so
wait,
like,
hold on. What? Wait, back up. Wait. All right, explain this. All right, so you met Brandon and you met Jared all through this message group.
No.
Or did you meet Jared through Brandon?
Yeah, so I've known Jared for a while.
Okay.
I'm getting kind of messy now.
No, you're good. That's why I'm trying to keep this straight. Like, I'm trying to understand it because I'm getting lost in it. Like, yes, like this is crazy. But I'm like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, up to this point, everything's just because there's so much that happened. But so yeah, Jared, we met in 5th grade. He was the new kid in town.
Gotcha.
That's when he moved in with his dad and all that.
I gotcha.
And so we were good friends, like tight, going to, like he said in his video, we would go to youth camps and conferences and all this stuff together nonstop. And like, that was my boy. But then he started struggling with his own sin and kind of just ghosted me like he ghosted Riley.
Bro, he ghosted everybody.
And so this whole time, right, I'm praying for Jared.
Right.
Because I want my homie back.
Yeah.
And so I'm praying, and then in this COVID point, I'm praying for friends and stuff. And like, I meet Brandon and all this stuff. And then Jared comes back, and I'm like, whoa, this is crazy.
Like, hold on. What are you doing, God?
Yeah. And so now I have this tight group, and some of them drifted, and like, it was such a big group chat that we didn't stay close with all those people.
Oh yeah. I mean, 30,000 people, all different places. Hard to stay vibing.
And so, which this was actually, so Jared came back the first time. It was crazy. I remember telling him, like, dude, I remember I told him, bro, you have a gift of prayer. And I was like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like the Lord is going to use you in ministry. And he was like, because he was like still a baby in his faith at this point.
Right.
And he was like, I don't know, man. Like, I have a really good job. I don't think I could ever leave this job.
I ain't got time ministry for God right now, bro. Like, hold on. I'm making money.
And then he just kind of went on his own again. Like, this was before that time where he just called me after being in the McDonald's parking lot and all
right.
that. But he had came back at this point, and so it was like me, Jared, Brandon, and my wife. She's coming up soon. she eventually joined the group chat, which again, I feel like if I tell everything, it's just gonna get even more messy. But
Bro, I feel like no, like this is I'm here for it, but you can go ahead and tell what you want to tell. But I'm already wanting to get like Brandon on the pod because I would like to see these different sides or like different characters in a story because I see things in my brain. I'm just like, oh, I have another level of the story. Like, hold on, this is so good.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's so hard to tell because God literally did so many things. And I mean, and there's so many more connections and like things that have happened just through the past few years. But to try to keep it a little online or structured. So I meet Brandon, we get super close, and then like we're hanging out like every weekend, just rubbing off of each other, just pouring into each other, which is another thing. Like I didn't really have anybody that poured into me like that. That
iron
gave me advice, that grew me in my faith and all this stuff. And so we are just building that connection. And that girl that I was with at the time, like we're kind of slowly fading. And we ended up breaking up in like September or October of 2020. And this is when Marissa came in. Actually, like a few weeks, or it was probably like a month or so before, I had texted Marissa because I had known Marissa because she was actually this girl's friend, which I already know that sounds messy, but
hey, bro. Sometimes we're looking for the one, and we get pretty close. But unfortunately, we end up dating the wrong one. But like, hey, I like you, but I vibe way more with your friend. No hard feelings, but can you like tell her I like her? Like, and I'm not here to split y'all up, but I'm just saying.
Nah, so I had met Marissa, my wife, a year before because this girl literally invited her to her homecoming with us. And so I had met her then. I was with that girl, so never talked to her, thought anything. But a year later, I knew that Marissa was a faithful woman. I knew that she took this serious because this girl would tell me things about her. And I remember thinking the whole time, like, why don't you... Because this girl, like, she got into some things. Like, she's always trying to be with, like, the popular group and all this stuff.
Gotcha.
And I was like... Why don't you hang out with her? Like
hang out with your good friend.
She's gonna lead you to the Lord and really help you out. Why don't you hang out with this girl? And so I ended up texting Marissa though, and I was like, I feel like she really needs you right now because like she kind of ghosted Marissa. I was like, can you just be praying for us and just maybe leave her a message or something, just girl to girl. I feel like it's better if it comes from you than me,
right? And
all this stuff. And then I was like, hey, also, I know that like you're really trying to grow in your faith right now and all this stuff. I have a group chat with all of my friends where we hop on Zoom calls and do Bible studies and all this stuff. I'm like, would you like to join? She was like, oh, yeah, like that'd be cool and all this stuff. So Marissa joined, still with this other girl, but we break up a few weeks later. And so that was good for me because there was a lot of lust and all the stuff that came out of it. And actually right after, like there was so much like, I mean, God really used people and mentors to help me. Like it's crazy what numbers do. Like it's better not to be alone.
Oh, absolutely, bro.
And so all these people like just pouring into me, it was growing me like crazy. And there was one night though, like towards the end of this relationship, I had a dream that God said, I never knew you. And so after that was when it was like, all right, it's game time. Like, so I woke up and like literally I felt like a whole different person. I'm like, I'm done with this. And like, I still struggled with lust after.
Yeah.
But it didn't control me and it wasn't shameful. It was conviction. Like, all right, I stumbled. I'm getting back up.
Yeah.
I'm doing better.
Oh, and that's what you gotta do, man.
Yeah.
Like it don't go away. You just
Yeah.
you learn to manage it.
But after that, it's like something just hit me. Like, I got all these people around me pouring into me. I believe I just had a dream from the Lord. Like, I don't want to be lukewarm. I don't want to be, growing in one point and then having my foot in this thing. And so,
Yeah, ultimately living just a false life. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, I'm a Christian over
Yeah.
here, but in secret, I
Yeah.
do what I want.
and I felt like such a hypocrite because
Right.
people call me Jesus boy. I was always posting stuff about Jesus and talking about Jesus. I wasn't actually fully living it.
Right.
And so at this point, I'm like, nah, like I started studying my word. I started spending time with the Lord. And like, again, these people are just pouring into me. And Brandon's mother-in-law, her name's Brooke. I think Jared talked about her a little bit too. Call her Mama Brooke. Huge mentor. Like, she was just kind of guiding me the whole time. Like,
Oh yeah.
literally, I struggled so much reading the Bible, and she taught me how, pretty much, like, and just really guided all of us. And so that was a huge turning point. And everything was just kind of going uphill. I'm like, there's finally like some light, like anxiety's pretty much fading because I'm getting stronger and stronger with the Lord. And so I hadn't dealt with the DP for probably a year and a half, almost 2 years or so. And things are kind of going uphill. Like I said, I was doing really bad in school, just trying to skip class. That all like started changing. Like, I got student of the month, my grades started going up, all this stuff, like just a whole different light. And then it all went downhill again.
Oh God. I was like, no. I was like, oh, yes, praise God. It was like, of course, here comes another attack. Because when it's going good, here comes the devil.
Yeah. And it was the same stuff though. Like, same depersonalization came back. Like, literally me and Brandon were hanging out one night, and I always blame it on the panini because we went to a gas station at like midnight and I got a panini and I ate this panini, and then all of a sudden I started detaching again.
Triggered by a panini. I've never heard that.
Yeah. And so then I just kind of go through the whole rabbit trail again, and like, it was really hard because it felt like a relapse. Like,
Right.
obviously I don't know what it's like to be addicted to drugs or anything like that, but I knew that it's like, man, it took me so long to get out of this. Like, and I was like, Lord, you pulled me out of this. Mm-hmm. Why is this happening again?
Oh yeah,
like,
to be on at ground zero or like rock bottom, we call it that.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's like to climb so high and then in one moment like that be in rock bottom. It's kind of like you start questioning everything. You're like a rush of emotions. You never, and I'm sure for depersonalization, it probably did not help at all.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like completely removed, and then anything you do feel is not okay. Mm-hmm. And like, I could only imagine what that's like for you.
Yeah. And so I forgot to say, so like when Marissa joined that group chat, our story is kind of like, we would do these Bible studies and all this stuff, and one night everybody was off besides us.
Of course. Like, hey, bye guys. Bye guys. Bye guys.
Yeah.
Stay on.
And we stayed on. And it was like same thing, like talked about just all these things, like the Lord for most of it, like talked about the Lord for 5 hours. Like, we were up till like 4 a.m. just, and I woke up and Brandon literally, he said, how was that Zoom call last night? And I was like, it was pretty good. He's like, oh yeah, winky face. He's like, she's gonna.
I know.
He literally said, she's gonna be your wife. I'm calling it.
Bet. Good going, Brandon.
Yeah. And so like, after that, like, we really started hitting it off, and it was pretty fast after that other girl. Like, it was like 2 months later, like, me and Marissa were dating. Mm-hmm. And I was like trying to take things slow, and I was like, Lord, just remove her if she's not the one. Like, I would always try to pray that. And she always stayed. So I was like, all right, I'm going to take it, because most of the time they would leave when I prayed that. So, but I said that because like Marissa, right away, she already had to deal. Like we were only dating for like 3 months, and now she's already seen like all this anxiety and all this depersonalization. And really like one of the lowest moments of my life again. So, and she stuck through and supported me. So shout out to the wifey.
Dude, for real though.
But it wasn't as bad last time, because I'm still stronger in my faith at this point. Like I knew the Lord had me, and I had even more support than I did last time. Still hard though, and like I would get like almost like flashbacks, because there were like times when it was really bad, like 7th through freshman year, when like full blown just yelling at my parents, like back and forth, because I felt like they didn't understand me. And I was like, why are you guys sending me to school? Like literally felt like school was torture.
I don't like this.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had a similar situation, and this was my, like towards the end of my junior year, we had a similar situation. I remember bawling, like it's happening all over again. But I'd already had this system that we started that freshman year where I could like take my breaks and stuff. And so it wasn't as bad, but it was still a struggle. And that day that Jared called me the second time was actually like I was having one of the worst days that I had ever had in a while.
No way.
And so, which I don't even know if I've told Jared that, but like I had just got done crying my eyes out, because like my dad was telling me to just like get out of my head and all this stuff, and like just trying to talk to me, and I was just like so sick of it. And then I walk out, and Jared calls me, and he's like, "Hey bro, what are you doing?" I was like,
my life's falling apart
I didn't
right
tell
now,
him, like,
bro.
yeah, I just got done bawling my eyes out, like life's really sucked. And nah,
it's like, that's cool. I'm sitting in this McDonald's parking lot kind of freaking out right now.
Yeah. So we're both just like kind of having these moments, and like he calls me and he's like, I really need you, bro, and all this stuff. I'm like, all right. Like, and I needed him, because like his presence made more of an impact than he even knows. And so he came and picked me up, and then like Jared said the rest. Like that night we just prayed and all this stuff, and at the same time while I was praying over him and like trying to guide him, it helped me, because it was like this reminder that the Lord's right there. Like he's never leaving us. Literally, Jared, like this whole time the Lord was right there with him, and that reminded me like he's not gone. And so that was another turning point. And like, and then Jared was serious this time. He wasn't leaving again.
Right.
Like, this
I ain't gonna ghost you guys.
Dude's still
Don't
going
worry.
strong. So we had that friendship again, like me, Jared, Brandon, Zach, and just kind of the friend group. And really after that, like I still struggled with things, but it was kind of steady. But like kind of the last thing though, like just with anxiety in the Lord, I was doing good. And at this point, like within my faith, I had really started learning about spiritual warfare. I wasn't really familiar with all that, but like it's when I really started getting strong, or when the Lord really started strengthening me, because I was like, man, the Holy Spirit's really that strong. And so I would like I'd feel like I'd have these attacks, but I'd be like there's just something in you, like, you know, like there's just this peace where like, nah, like you're not stronger than the Holy Spirit. Like I'm good.
Like whatever happens, God got me, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
and so there was one point though, like this is kind of like just another
layer.
Yeah, just a layer,
Another
a layer of the movie. Like me and Marissa were coming home. We went on a little vacation with her family, and I mean, I had the most fear out of any of the years before I've ever had. Like literally so bad that when we got home, I did not want to go to the bathroom alone without her. Like I literally felt like there was something there, and it was making me fear. And I was like, I don't know what this is. Like I told her, like, I think I'm under attack right now. Like the enemy, I feel like the devil is right next to me, like literally. And so I like get out of the bathroom and I walk in the room, and I'm just like sitting there like rocking again. I'm kind of shaking, trying to catch my breath, like trying to pray. And then it just hit me. I'm like, nah, this isn't going to happen again. And so I get down. I'm like, we're going to pray right now, baby. And I just start yelling, like top of my lungs, like yelling at the enemy, like, you can't touch me, all this stuff. Like, I'm protected by the Holy Spirit.
Let's go.
I literally, like, I started anointing the house and all this stuff, like going full force. And literally out of any other time too, like instant, the most peace I've ever felt in my life. Like, I don't even know how to explain it.
Bruh.
Just like so calm.
Oh yeah, taking authority, man. They gotta flee.
Yeah, it was crazy. But after that, I was like it was just that reassurance. Like, man, God is like strong. Like the Holy Spirit really can't be touched. And from then on, like it's just been, regular struggles and stuff. But like that moment after everything else just really gave me a confidence booster. So, well, that's kind of the gist of like the anxiety and all that.
Bruh, dude. First off, yeah, thank you for just your transparency and just openness, man. Like, wow. Yeah, because I was watching all that. I'm like, yo, what? That's crazy. Yo, what is up, all my real ones? We have already talked about so much in today's episode, as Isaiah Watson has given us context to him by sharing his story. And there's so much more that we have to unpack in this episode. So make sure that you show up next week for part 2, as Isaiah Watson shares his passion for music and how we talk about our struggles to be content. So until next week, keep it real.